Okay, I'm back. I thought I would come back and since I have this webinar at um, 2 o'clock today, I thought I would come on and just kind of share a little bit of what I'll be doing with the webinar today. So the topic is called Keys to Self-Publishing. I'm trying to get everything set up, so I'm going to stream this live. So for everybody that's out there, this is Jermaine coming to you guys with Back and Balance the podcast and also JALEXANDER Publishing. So we are in the process of doing a book signing here at Half Price Books in East Cobb, and that's on Paces Ferry. So if you're in the area and you want to come out and check it out, feel free to come out and check it out. I'm going to adjust this a little bit just so you guys can see me because I got a lot going on. So for those of you that didn't get a chance to see my reel yesterday, I actually posted a reel that was geared around concrete commitment. So that was yesterday. Today I have the book signing here at Half Price Books in East Cobb until about 1:40. I'll stay here, and then right after that I'm going right home and I'm jumping inside of the studio to do a webinar on the keys to self-publishing. That's what I'm going to talk to you guys about. I figured I'll get a little bit of practice right now with you guys before I jump on, because that event is actually up almost to capacity. I only accepted 25 people, so with those 25 people that's on there, it was a free event that I set up. It gave me the opportunity to reach more people through sign-up G's and through Eventbrite, and we just gonna let it do what it do. So today, hopefully everybody's doing well out there and everybody's enjoying their time and their day. But I wanted to kind of like walk through really just the keys to self-publishing. Actually, everybody know I launched this last July, and we still have some launches that's coming up that will be pretty important. Obviously, a training course that I'm going to be, an online training course that I'll have, and that'll be geared around like books. It'll be geared around leadership. It'll be geared around like wellness. So you'll be able to purchase those online as well. But today, I'm going to talk more about just the keys to self-publishing. A lot of times people inbox me and they say, hey, you know what, I want you to help me to write a book or help me to publish a book. And it's not very hard, and from that aspect or perspective, it's more one, time consuming, and really just understanding just a couple different things. I got my uncle out there, Cash, if you out there, what's up? He owns Lockdown Publications, and he actually gave me some insight as to what it would take to publish the book. But then also he actually gave me some ideas from a distance that I learned from. What's up, Drew? I learned from that would help along the way with the publishing company. So with that, I'm just going to slide into it. So keys to self-publishing. A lot of times we all have a story. We want to tell it. We want to be out there. We want to communicate it. Obviously, with everybody that's being on Facebook, to some degree, you telling your story every day with your post, with your communication with other people. So that's a great opportunity to kind of take a step back and look at, hey, I can really do this if I wanted to. Don't put anything past yourself. Be willing to dive in and just get it done. So I'm going to walk you through these slides that I'm going to talk about today on the webinar. So understanding self-publishing. So the first step of self-publishing is to finish writing it and editing your book. So that's super important. A lot of people say, well, I want to write a book, but they haven't started writing yet. The first thing you should start to do is sit down and start to write. So when you write, it actually gives you the opportunity to re-examine your thoughts. And that was super huge for me, because one thing about me is that I think just from an education standpoint and just from a life experience standpoint, I had a lot in my head. So when I pushed out wins and losses, that was a summation of like some of the things that I have experienced during my childhood and then in my adulthood as well. So those were important for me to get out. So but the first thing is you have to start writing. If you haven't put the pen on the paper, that's the first start. That's the one thing that I would say. And then a well-polished final draft is essential, so consider hiring a professional. Me, I had my uncle to kind of lean on. So I really didn't have to lean outside of my uncle. And obviously, with me working at Life University, I had the opportunity to meet with different professors and things of that nature as I started with Life. But prior to that, it was just, it was a little bit raw. I can remember when I told my uncle this probably about like a year ago. I said, man, I look at my book that I wrote at first, the first one, Wins and Losses, and then also I Must, I Will, I Can, and I honestly had to say that that was some trash. So I looked at it from the lens of, as you start to write, you start to grow as well. And then the next step to that, you have to have an appealing cover. One thing that I can say about my uncle's covers on his books, they are raw for his genre that he's writing about. For me, mine's going to be a little bit different. I think it's a little bit more laid back, a little bit more easy. Obviously, the the cover will tell a lot about what's in the book. But I think that one thing is super important is, for whatever you do, you have a title, and that title is almost like your vision. So from your title, you can actually move towards writing your content. So when I wrote Vegans Only, I knew that I was, I had changed to be vegan. 90 days plant-based. Usually it takes about 21 days to create a habit, and then you have the other days to kind of like get into a groove where you won't fall off. So that was super important. So having a title that is your vision, that kind of rolls, that'll kind of lead you into what your content should look like inside of the book. The power of prayer. I got baptized last year, and one of the things that I talked about when I got baptized is initially when I got this book. And oh, by the way, I got some new stuff on it too, author signatures. So I stepped my game up. But when I wrote the title of this book, it wasn't originally The Power of Prayer, because I had gotten baptized last April 28th, and I was wondering, like, okay, now that I'm baptized, now what? So my title initially for this book was going to be, okay, now what? And throughout a year's time, I was writing it, and I wanted to set it up in a format to where people could understand the text that was in the text body and the paragraphs. They would have a verse to go along with that. They would have an action, a quote, and then a prayer. But what I found out was that over the time, before I released the book, one thing that I looked at was, you know what, really, this is what's next. And it wasn't okay, now what? It was more so, now what has gotten me to this point after I gotten baptized is through prayer and fasting, and really just following, obviously the word. I'm doing other things, but that was super important in terms of the book itself as well. So 3 things: you have to have a good title, you have to have a good cover, right? So you get your title, right? You start writing, get your title. You want to know what you're writing about, and your title should reflect what's in your content. And then you have to have a good cover, so something that's going to capture people. So the next thing is you got to choose the right publishing platform. That's super crucial. So now whether you go with it's different ones. I went with Amazon and Kindle. That was just the best one for me. One thing about it, it was very user friendly. And when you look at just the nuts and bolts on the back end of it, as far as I would say the royalties, that was another component that was super important for me. But you could go with Ingram Spark, that's another one. The distribution and options and royalties, they all vary depending on which platform you own. So you basically have to choose which one. Amazon is really popular, Kindle is really popular, and you'll see a lot of people that go with Kindle and Amazon. The next thing is, once you get your book formatted and uploaded, you'll need to set up a pricing strategy. And so for my books, I looked at across the industry, and I did almost like some peer reviews, but I looked at different books that had different pricings, and based off of the content that I had, everything that was in, I wanted to kind of like align those with those prices. But for The Power of Prayer, I was like, I'm going to set the price for that book as low as I possibly can, because I really wasn't going into that book to try and make money from it. I'm really trying to go and get this book out because it's near and dear to me, and it has a lot to do with God's word. And I think that should be free. It shouldn't cost. So whatever it costs to print the book, that's what I'm getting from it. Nothing, pretty much. So it's really just me communicating and making sure that that book gets out, because I know what The Power of Prayer has done for me, and I know it'll do for anybody that's invested in it and trying to become one with God. So You have to set your pricing structure. The next one is you have to pay attention to the reviews and feedback. Um, you can post your books to get reviews. You can actually put them inside of Amazon and Kindle to get the reviews and everything. You can pass them on to people. The great thing for me was that I have a lot of educators at the university that I work at, so I was able to pass that along to them and have them read it prior to me even releasing it. And then I do also have one lady, going back to the initial step, having an editor. I have a lady that comes there. She's retired, and she was in education her whole life and her whole career, and she was an English professor at one point, and she actually helped me to edit the books as I go along. And the more lengthy the books get, the more work that they have to do on the back end as far as like editing. But you have to be able to get somebody to edit the book, and then making sure that the content that you're putting out is rock solid. So those are the first 4 steps. So when you look at it, you have to first, you gotta start writing, right? That's the first important thing. You gotta get your title, right? And then you gotta get your cover. Those 3 things are first, because that's what people see. The next, choosing the right publishing platform. So whether it's, like I mentioned, whether it's Ingram Spark, whether it's Amazon Kindle Direct Publishing, I went with Amazon Kindle Direct Publishing. I think it's a great platform for you guys to be able to be successful with not only just the uploading of it, but then also just all of the features that go along with the software and things of that nature. Next, once your book is formatted, you got to upload it, and you'll need a pricing strategy. So you want to make sure you price the book out. Don't price yourself out, but make sure the book is in a line and is consistent with like what the industry looks like for a book of that nature. And then finally, you got to pay attention to the reviews. Get your book out. Give it away for free. It's okay. It takes money to make money. So you have to buy books to give to people in order for them to read it. And then also get that feedback. So if there's any adjustments or edits you need to make, you can make those edits prior to releasing it. So that's one, understanding self-publishing. The benefits of self-publishing. Self-publishing provides authors with a complete creative freedom, higher royalties, and the ability to connect directly with the readers. It also allows for you guys to have a more personalized approach to publishing. So with publishing companies, you have to fit within the parameters of what they're looking for in that book. But then also with self-publishing, it's almost like, if you looked at the music industry, when you go with like a producer, it's only so much you can do. But when you're independent, you can pretty much do and move how you need to in order to be successful, or if it fit with what you're trying to accomplish and not with what they're trying to accomplish. That makes for a success as well. So the next thing is authors can choose their own cover designs, set their own prices, and determine their own marketing strategies. This independence empowers you to maintain control over your work, and then make decisions that align with their vision. Just like I said, your vision might be one thing, and if you were a publishing company, their vision might be one thing. So at the end of the day, it gives you more freedom to be able to move in a direction that you want to move in. So me, I like to, all of my content is on health and wellness. So with that said, I don't have to go to somebody to say I want to work on a nutrition book and then have them tell me what should be in a nutrition book when I'm the expert in my field as far as health and wellness. So whether it's with nutrition, whether it's with fitness, whether it's with orthopedics, I'm the expert in that. So I want to be able to write that content and push that content out according to how I want the viewer to read it. And then with the power of prayer, obviously I've been, saved for the last year, but then really been, aligning myself back with God for the last 2 years. So who better else to explain my experience with God rather than me? Like, I want to be able to have that freedom. So having that freedom to be able to communicate to the readers and be in touch, you have more touch points with that. And then lastly, self-publishing enables you to reach a niche market and cultivate a loyal leadership without constraints often imposed by traditional publishing houses. So like again, obviously under a publication company, you have certain restraints. You have to move the way they want to move. You have to release when they want you to release. So it gives you more freedom to be able to do, hey, you know what, this is my vision, this is where I want to go, this is who I want to target, and this is how I'm going to target them. So with that, those are some of the benefits of self-publishing. I only picked the top 3, okay? The next thing is challenges of self-publishing. Now this is where it gets trickier, and this is where your work ethic and your mindset has to come into play, because if you don't have a good work ethic and you don't have a mindset that's conducive to a favorable outcome or being successful in that area, then you're going to struggle, because the number one thing that I had to deal with when I first wrote um, Wins and Losses was, okay, you put the book out, now what next? Who are you going to give it to? Who are you going to sell it to? Who are you going to, like, how are you going to market it? You know, what are you going to do? So it's nothing like having a book but then nobody to give it to, or nobody that's going to purchase it. So with that being said, self-publishing allows authors to retain creative control, potentially earn higher royalties. However, it requires a proactive approach to marketing, which can be daunting without experience. Now, I'm going to say this. In all of the years that I've been in leadership, I've had the opportunity to work directly with marketing departments, directly with advertising departments, directly with HR departments. So I've always been around people. You know, I've made deals that were well over, you know, $5 million deals with companies, and talking to their direct, their gatekeepers and the people that was in control of revenue. So from that point, in my lifetime of working in leadership and in production, I have made a lot of people a lot of money. And so it was natural for me to be able to transition and pivot into what I needed to, because I had experience in all of those areas. So like I mentioned before, everything that I talk about is health and wellness. So I'm passionate about that, but not only that, I have a background in that. And then not only that, I have, you know, over 20 years of experience in advertising, in marketing, in, you know, face-to-face sales, in, you know, big, I would say, purchase sales. So it's comfortable for me, so I'm able to do it. But that's one thing. It can be daunting if you don't have experience with it. And the worst thing that you can have is to have a book that you can't sell, right? And then also, I'm going to talk a little bit more about that a little later, but that's one of the one things, is to have a, you know, content that you can't get rid of. And then the next thing is maintaining quality is essential in seeking professional services for editing. Design and formatting is often necessary to compete in the market. And then also, additionally, authors must understand various distribution channels, which can be complex and may require additional research and strategy to ensure that that your work reaches a wide audience. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that, but at the current time, you have to understand the distribution channels. I'm going to talk deep about that because I had to go real deep. I had to take a deep dive, and I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about that. But the next thing is you have to balance the elements that can be challenging, but can ultimately lead to success in publishing experience. So I think I wrote the first project, came out 3 years ago, and I feel like I'm just now getting comfortable with navigating through the marketing, with navigating through the publishing, with navigating through the writing, with navigating through the editing. So I've had the opportunity to spend 3 years in this. And there's some people, you know, I was talking to my uncle one day, and he said, you know, sometimes it take more than 3 years. Sometimes it take 50, 60 books. He told me that one gentleman he didn't start making money off of books until he had wrote like 30 books already. And, you know, obviously like at the end of the day, I just consider myself a hustler, so I'm going to outwork everybody that comes in contact with me. At least I think so. So I don't like fear the work part of it. And then I'm an educator too, and I'm in education, and so I don't mind researching and reading whatever I need to in order to be successful. And then the last thing is the experience that I bring just with over multiple platforms and multiple industries, like whether it's education or whether it's healthcare and whether it's fitness. I've held like leadership roles and made decisions about companies in those fields. So I'm comfortable with being uncomfortable. So that's one thing I want to say. You've got to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. If you're not, it's easy to like stop doing things that you need to do because you're not seeing any residuals from it in the beginning. So the next thing, I'm going to slide down these because I got this. Marketing a self-published book. So you have to market. So you have to understand some marketing. I was driving over here today and I said, you know, I see a McDonald's over here and I see a Wendy's over here, right? And the big thing about like publishing, even with the publishing company, the big thing about the publishing company is that I don't come to book signings to sell 100 books or 1,000 books. That's not my goal here. That's not my intent. So when you guys see me on Facebook or you see me on Instagram or I'm posting reels, I'm not in these places to sell, 100 books. I only take 5 books to an event, and if I sign those, get those 5 books sold, fine. If I don't, fine too. The goal here is to not just be in the community, but be a part of the community, and then to get brand recognition. So JALEXANDER is what I'm pushing right now, the publishing company, because I do got people that that is on board with signing, and I got 4 people that's already on board, but I'm not releasing their stuff until I'm rock solid and 100% set. But the big thing is to understand that these platforms like this is geared towards like how do I be more in a community or more visible. Visibility is important, because somebody might walk through here and might not see me, but then they might go to a platform that's for the community, like I use Nextdoor, and I set up a business account with Nextdoor, so they might see me here, but then also might not have time to stop, might not have time to visit, but then also they might click on a link in Nextdoor and see me in Nextdoor, or open up a magazine to East Cobb and be like, oh, that's the guy I seen there, let me check out his work, right? So it's not geared to sell books here. Just like, you know what, you might be driving down the street and you see a McDonald's, you might not be hungry at the time, but you might see another McDonald's again and be like, oh, let me grab something to eat. So that's the same here. So you might not purchase something from McDonald's all the time, but once you see it, and the more times you see it, it almost like a subliminal message that's set inside that you can actually, you'll actually purchase later. And then, I always say this, and this is one thing I used to tell my guys back when I was in leadership and production, right? From a wellness standpoint. People do not purchase things on the first visit or the first consult. It takes people 8 to 12 times before they make a purchase when it comes to, like, whether it's we call them high ticket items, HTIs, or any kind of like small ticket items, or a book. Sometimes people come to a bookstore and they not, maybe they're just coming to look for a book. May not buy one. They might pick one up, read it, put it back down, but then go home, come back, pick it up, read it again, grab another book. But then throughout that process, they might go ahead and say like, oh, I've been looking at this book, and it's the same thing. So you have to understand that too. And then the next thing is participating in author events. Both online and offline can enhance the visibility and value exposure. Remember, seeking reviews from influencers and bloggers can also help generate a buzz. Right now in this community right here, when you think about, I'll just say this, I'm at a book signing right now. I'm in East Cobb. I've had book signings in Acworth, in Alpharetta, in St. John's, in Kennesaw, in Marietta. So when you look at it from that platform, that's like over, a million people in this, heavily, populated, dense area. So I'm out where they can see me. So that's the big thing, is really doing the author events. But really, when you go out, you don't take no big old box of books or anything like that to sell at that event. You only take 4 or 5 books to sell. And then if not, in most cases, what I do is I leave all of the books with the bookstore if I do a book signing. If I got 5 books, I leave all 5 of them, however many. So that's important too. So the next thing is, after you've got all of that done, one of the things you want to do is you want to, I got my other computer going. Oh, it shut down. One of the things you want to do is you can set up a website for your books, in which I have a website that I'm working on. I won't launch it until July. But I said, you know what, rather than start a website first, I wanted to start a business first. And I think that's super important, because you separate, obviously, there's so many benefits to setting up a business, not just for the sole right of, saying I have a business, but, from a financial standpoint, obviously, that's super important with taxes and stuff like that. There's a lot of different nuances to setting up a business, but I wanted to run everything through a legitimate business as opposed to it just be me. Now when I put my website up, it's actually legit. It's not just a book website, JALEXANDER Book Publishing, or books. No, it's J. Alexander Publishing, and then I have the platform to be able to bring other people on as well. So that's super important. So I started the business. So when you're looking at starting the business, one of the things you want to look at is whether you want to do a sole proprietor, whether you want to be a sole proprietor, go in partnership with somebody, be an LLC. And obviously you got your S Corp, your C Corps, and then your corporations. You got nonprofits and stuff like that. So all of those. The one thing that I looked at was how can I set up an LLC. So what I did was I set up an LLC, and from that, it opened up the door for a lot of different things, and I'm going to share that with you here. So I'm going to scroll down. This is what y'all going to get today, all right? It opened up a lot of platforms for other things. So one thing you say was, why should I start a business? You know, one of the most important businesses you're going to manage in your life is yourself, is your life, right? First, you got to have a business idea. Okay, so I was writing books. I said, you know what? I'm going to do a publishing company because there might be somebody that come behind me that wants to write a book but don't have the platform or the resources or the know-how to be able to do it. And my thing is to pay it forward. So that's a great opportunity for me to bring somebody on and then leverage the resources that I have in order for them to be successful. Most people don't know how to start a business. You want to start a business where you have an idea. Obviously, you get registered, you get your EIN number, and I'm going somewhere with this, and then you get a bank that you want to use, right? A question I always ask, and this will be for book sales, this will be for starting a business, this will be for anything. You always want to have consumers first or customers first or the business first. I always say you get the customers first. A lot of things I haven't launched yet with books, with regard to books or anything like that, is because I'm trying to get as much following as I possibly can. Because when you don't have a following, it's like you working uphill in order to be successful with the business or with your book sales, right? So that's why you see a lot of stuff that I'm doing, and I'm rolling out content and content and content and content, and I'm getting better and better at my creative too. So that's the best thing, is always look. It's a term called the aggregation of marginal gain, right? You want to wake up every day and fill out, and it's by Thomas Havoc. You want to wake up each day and figure out, how do I fill the gaps in order to be successful? What didn't I do yesterday that's going to make me successful today? So, and you fill that gap. So I felt like, you know what, I got to get a following first. And then once I get a following, then I can kind of like start rolling out these different initiatives and these different projects that I got in mind, all right? And remember this, your most important asset is your people. You have to understand that. My external customers, like, I don't never have a time where I'm too busy to talk to somebody, or I don't never have a time if somebody call me and say, hey, we got an opening for a signing, can you fill this day? I try to fill it, but those are the most important people. The next thing too, I want you guys to remember these key points. Data analytics is super important. Whether you're selling books, whether you're doing social media, if you're not looking at the data and seeing who, what, where, when, and how, then you're struggling. You might struggle to be successful with that. So with me, I know what demographic is looking at my content. So if I'm putting out book content, I know who looks at what. I know what videos they look at, how long they look at the videos, what areas they coming from. So that way it gives me a platform to be able to say, hey, you know what, I posted this reel on side of Facebook about my book, and it did XYZ views or clicks, or it reached this many people. But I put the same one on YouTube and it got a whole lot more. So really understanding the dynamics and the schematics of everything will help you to be able to market your book the right way and then be successful with that. So understanding data-driven production and data-driven success is super important. So if you don't like math, if you're trying to do anything as far as, like, I would say being a social media influencer, or even selling books, or anything that deals with people and data, if you don't understand the data, it's going to kind of it's going to be kind of hard to be successful. One of my former bosses used to always tell me this, is that you can't change what you can't measure. So your data is what you use to measure them. So whether it's on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, LinkedIn, you got to look at that data and say, okay, I posted this about my XYZ, my book, and I didn't get a lot of interest in it, but I posted this. And this got a lot of feedback. And then also you have to be able to, like, when you're marketing your books and everything like that, or if you decide to write a book or whatever it is you're doing, you have to be able to change with the times, right? So right now I'm using AI on some of my videos in order to change with the times, and that's just a part of it, you know. You have to be able to move the way the industry is moving, and you have to be able to be fluid, and you have to be agile in everything that you're doing. You can't just be one way. If you have a one-track mind, you have to be able to be, it's going to be hard. You have to be agile. So as the business move, as things shift, you have to shift with it. So with that, I'm going to go to JALEXANDER Publishing. Obviously, you guys know I started the publishing company last July. We are working to bring on all of the authors that we possibly can. Hence, that is what my webinar is for today. So with that in mind, the books that I've published that's under my publishing company is The Power of Prayer, which is here. Right, Power of Prayer. Get that. Vegans Only is here. Back in Balance, Free to Play, I Must, I Will, I Can, and then Wins and Losses. And then I got 4 manuscripts right now from 4 different people, but I won't put those out there right now, but those will be coming once I get things up and running and then things launched at full speed. With regard to book sales and other things that I'm doing, my e-commerce, I'm running books through my e-commerce, which is Amazon, Walmart, Temu, Shein, Google Bookstore, Shopify, Groupon, TikTok, store, and then Fair. Those are super important in terms of understanding that marketing piece to whatever you're doing if you decide to write a book. And then also your social media platforms, you actually want to leverage those to obviously use YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter X, and there's other ones too. So how do I market my books? How do I publish my, who do I look for? So like I mentioned before, you want to go with your main platforms, but I'm also using Etsy, and then I also use Talent LMS, and that's where I'm going to have my online training courses come from. So those are super important. So we are on literally everything: Goodreads, BookBub, Amazon. I'm authors on all of those platforms, and that gives you the opportunity to reach more people as well. And then lastly, just along with the e-commerce, and I'm going to close out with this. If you have like Eventbrite, setting up a business account is super important for like things like Eventbrite or things like Nextdoor, because Eventbrite, what I found out, and this is where research come in and it's important, what I found out was that Eventbrite have over 244 million people that go to their website every year, right? And then they have 90 million people that purchase something from there. So with that in mind, I said, I know how many Facebook followers I have, I know how many book signings I have, I know how many XYZ I can do, right? But 244 million people go through that site. So I figured, like, if I posted an event up there, then what I would do is I'll run some free events for people to come on. So today's topic is the keys to self-publishing. And so I'll have people on there and I'll talk exactly about this a little bit slower. I'm just trying to get off so that I can see people, but don't limit yourself, right? Don't limit yourself to just like, I gotta post things on Facebook. You can do a lot of different things. So that's why I say the important thing is setting up a business account, so that way you can actually launch into different things and be successful with being able to reach more people. All right. And then that's all I got for y'all right now. I'm right in the back. I got Chandra back there. Where's Chandra at? Come on. You can come on. I got Chandra back here. You know Chandra gonna come show up and show out for me. But we gonna finish up. Wanna say hey?
Hey.
That's Facebook.
Oh, hi, Facebook.
That's my rider right there.
Yes, I support him as much as he supports me.
That's it. That's it. Right?
Right.
They say he who finds a wife has found a truly good thing and is favored by the Lord. So I got some favor right now. So.
Right.
But anyway, I'm going to shut this down. I'm going to send some pictures to you guys. Hey, hey Drew, thanks for listening in. Be in touch. Today I'm going to record the rest of the presentation so that way I can post that online as well. But thank you guys. Look for Concrete Commitment, coming from Back and Balance, the podcast, where I interview Kendall Marsh, who is a 6-quarter student at Life University. She has concrete commitment. She got a master's degree, and she was pre-med too, and then now she's doing a doctorate of chiropractic program. So I did an interview with her yesterday. It was super exciting. It was super, laid back. I posted a clip, and all I can say is that my goal here is to reach as many as people as I possibly can. And obviously, Facebook is one platform to do it, but literary art and writing is another platform to do it. I believe 100% in everything that I do, so I'm passionate about it. So I'm not the person that wakes up and goes to work, or wakes up and has to do my own business with a bad spirit. I love everything I do, because when you get those testimonials back from people where you change in their life, and everybody that you come in contact with you, they feel good or better than they did prior to them meeting with you, that's super important. So if you're not doing something that you love to do, you want to find out what that passion and purpose is, because my grandmother always told me this a long time ago. Granny, she said, if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. And I'm busy, but I feel like it's all paying off. I'm helping somebody, and that's what we're here to do. Is we're here to serve. And like I said, and I'll close with this: if you assessing and analyzing where you at about being successful, I'm going to say this one more time, and I'm going to say it loud and clear. Your level of success is directly a reflection of the people you've helped and the people you've serviced. So if you haven't helped anybody and you haven't serviced anybody, obviously, you want to get out and do that, because that's what we're here for. We're here to help. We're here to serve. And I'm just doing my part. Thank God that He got me back on the right track, and I'm moving in the right direction. I ain't what I should be, but I'm not what I used to be. And with that, I'm going to sign off. I'm going to say peace, much love, and I'll see you guys soon.